Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. It is Thursday afternoon here, and we're looking at this 4-game slate that we've got in the NBA here. Hopefully you saw the video that came out the night before, looking at the projections of each of these 4 games and what the key stats and info are, injuries, all of that kind of stuff here. I'm going to be going back through all of it with you, mostly just in the form of these best bets I have. I've got 5 of them for you, so subscribe to that page if you would, like the video. All of it's very helpful for me as I continue to bring you guys this free content each and every day this year in this NBA season. Also have college hoops up as well if you're interested in that, so you can check out those videos up if you want to bet on some college ball. 4-game slate here. Cleveland played yesterday, barely beat Detroit, barely for what you should normally beat Detroit by anyway. The Pacers are going to play today, and they're going to play tomorrow at home against Sac after playing tonight in New York. And the Grizz are going to be playing Cleveland tonight at home, and then the Golden State Warriors at home on Friday. So just look at a couple of those things if you would, just to keep it in mind as you're making those bets. Let's get into my bets here. I've got 5 of them for you, as I've mentioned. And the first one is going back to Big Hart, Josh Hart here, over 8.5 boards, as he is the power forward for this Pacers team, for this Knicks team, which is great when you're going up against the Pacers if you're a good power forward. He's got 13.5 rebound chances in his last 15. And I bring that up because that's when OG got there. OG has not played in the last 2, nor has Julius Randle. In that time, his rebound chances actually have gone up from 13.5 to 15.5. And Indy allows the most, sixth most rather, rebounds per game to power forwards on the season. And that's where he is now. He's the power forward. Even with OG out there, he's the power forward. Now, OG, if he is playing, which he's questionable to play and has missed 2 in a row, if he does play, I expect him to be guarding Pascal Siakam, or he'll be guarding Miles Turner out on the perimeter. Either way, like between he and Hartenstein, it's going to be one of them guarding Turner, one of them guarding Pascal. Whoever does that between the two of them is likely to have more boards. Hartenstein's likely to have more boards anyway, but in terms of compared to what they would normally get, OG might be in line for a good amount of rebounds if he's guarding Pascal, which is normally going to mean that he's a little bit closer to the basket, even though Pascal's not playing quite as close to the basket as he might like on this Pacers team compared to what he was doing with that Raptors team. I don't exactly know where he prefers to play. He's good at both, out and in, right? But either way, Hart is going to be on Nesmith. And Nesmith is also going to be doing some rebounding in this game because these 2 dudes are going to be expected to do that, in part largely because of the fact that Indy allows the 3rd fewest rebounds per game to centers. Why is that? Is Miles Turner like an amazing rebounder? Not in the slightest. It's just the fact that he's not standing anywhere near the basket on offense, Miles Turner. Sometimes he drives in, but the beginning of the offense and the whole strategy around it is predicated on having a guy like Miles Turner who can shoot threes and pull centers away from the basket for driving lanes for dudes and all these assists that the Indiana Pacers want to get on cuts to the basket as well, as one of the highest cutting teams in the league. That is all to say that means that power forwards have a very clean lane to the basket to get rebounds. It also means Aaron Nesmith is going to be having to get a lot of rebounds. So let's just go right into that bet, which is the second one here. Not a household name, I understand. Aaron Nesmith, former Boston Celtic who couldn't crack their rotation and has actually now cracked this Pacers rotation. Not sure if that was always the plan, but it's become the plan, which is that Aaron Nesmith is playing more small forward, power forward hybrid, but with Pascal out there, obviously Pascal owns a little bit more of the paint on offense. On defense, Aaron Nesmith is a Swiss Army knife. He can guard whoever you want. He's been awesome. We're going for the points and rebounds for him. Over 19.5. It's close to even money. He's basically taken over a bit of the Bruce Brown role. He's gotten better with the ball in his hands. He's not quite Bruce Brown by any means, but he has been figuring it out at the small forward position, which is where I have him slated, and they have him slotted at this point. In his last 5, where he's been playing this small forward-y hybrid position, he's got 18.5 points per game and 8.5 boards, and tick higher than that, right? In the last 5 with Halliburton, you might be worried, okay, well, Halliburton hasn't played quite as much in these games. Is he just getting better usage and stuff like that? Actually, his usage is a bit higher with Halliburton than it was without him. It's only been 16.5% in these last 5 games. He's still not a focal point of the offense by any means, but he is a very good catch and shoot guy for them, right? He's been incredible from 3, making 2.5 per game on 41.5% or 42.5% from deep for Aaron Nesmith over the last 5, right? And on the season, I think that's actually over the last 7. On the season, he's been like the 2nd most efficient 3-point shooter in the league, not taking a ton, but making like above 41% for the majority of this year on that really small number of takes, but like 2.5 makes, like I just said. He's been incredible this year from that standpoint when they're moving the ball around like they like to do. And in that small forward position, he's in the corner a bit more, which gets you a bit more threes, like I've been saying, although also the wing. But I do expect him to be getting in there for the rebounds. The chances have been there for him. And really, the thing I love about this, when Nate found this one as well, Nate, my co-host, and I looked into it further and really realized that the Knicks are not guarding the small forward position super well at this point. Over the last 15 games, and really over the last 7 even more so, they've been really bad. They're allowing the 8th most points per game, the 7th most rebounds per game, and this has all been since the trade. Like, everything's sort of shifted for them and how they play. There's no more RJ Barrett out there really just owning this small forward position. Now it's somewhat of a like hybrid, just 2 forwards, and calling them small, calling them power is really just about where they are on the floor. And that's because everything's really just switched around for New York since that trade happened. There's no real small forward, power forward dynamic at this point. It's between Josh Hart and OG Anunoby for the defense for the Knicks. They're really interchangeable. Everybody really is. So I think Nesmith will be matched up with Hart mostly, and I like both of them to get boards, as that's going to be a big sort of priority for those two guys as they take on this matchup. Let's go to this Utah and Philly game, which I believe Tyrese Maxey might play in. We still don't have final word on that just yet. I'm actually double checking while I'm talking to you because things happen. Still no actual word on whether or not he is going to play. Same with OG Anunoby from this last game. But I will say that, like, even if Maxey doesn't play, I don't care, to be honest with you. I'm basing that on the fact that, like, the spread kind of went up a bit, about -6 for Utah, and then it kind of dropped back down to about -4, -4.5. And that's been in the last hour that it dropped back down towards Philly. So I do think that it's likely that Maxey plays, and some people were trying to get ahead of that. Either way, Jordan Clarkson and the Jazz, like, I like a lot of stuff for them on offense. They're finally back home after a road trip where sometimes they had us believing they were going to be a better road team than we thought. The next day, they're losing by 30 points to the Brooklyn Nets in Brooklyn. So I don't know what to make of them on the road, but I sure as hell know what to make of them at home. And I definitely know what to make of Jordan Clarkson when he plays at home. So we'll take him for the over 16.5 points. I like him to get the 17. I have blowout potential written all over this game. I think a lot of people do, except for that Maxey's in there now. I still don't care. When I say blowout, with Maxey in, beating them by double digits is a blowout to me. With Maxey out, we could see this be a 20-point game. I would not be surprised in the slightest. He's gone under in 3 straight for JC here, Jordan Clarkson. 4 of his last 5, he's gone under. Wonderful. Like, I don't want to just come in here and throw, oh, he's gone over in his last 4. He's gone over in 3. Like, okay, who is he playing? What does that do for me in this matchup? But what I do like even more than that is when you can say he's gone under for good reason. And that is, he's not as good on the road as are all of the Jazz players, just way better at home. That's how they score like 11 more points per game when they play in their own building versus when they're on the road. And so I'm buying the dip as he comes back home. We get this at a low number because it dropped when normally we would see this at 19.5. To be honest with you, when we talk about Jordan Clarkson at home in a matchup where there's no DeAnthony Melton for Philly, who would be the dude guarding Jordan Clarkson when he's on the floor, their best perimeter shooting guard defender, not around. And now we've got Jordan Clarkson going up. Maybe you get some Kelly Oubre on him, although everybody has to slide up because there's no bigs for this Philly team. So with no bigs in the game for Philly, like, everybody has to guard someone that's probably a little bit above their weight class, right? Like, Kelly Oubre has to get up and try to guard someone like perhaps, Markkanen. Whomever isn't guarding Markkanen is going to then be faced with all of the rest of the wings for this team. Even Colin Sexton's going to have some good matchups because of the point guards that he might be facing in this. Maybe we're going to see some Korkmaz in this game. You see what I'm saying? There's not going to be much in the way of defense for Philly, who's already been bad anyway when they've been playing on the road lately. We'll talk about that in a sec. Look at the difference, though. This should be my first point. 21.1 points per game when he's at home in 32 minutes, 15 points per game when he's on the road. That's a very big difference, obviously, in part because they're not really using Jordan Clarkson unless they need him. Like, what I mean by that is if they're up a lot, he's not necessarily a guy that's going to, or if they're down a lot, I should say, he's not a guy that they're going to bring in once they sort of wave the white flag. And they've gotten whooped a couple times. He is a guy that when they have the lead and they want to keep scoring and keep things going, but play with the second unit, he'll be in there with probably some Keontae George at point guard if this does turn into a blowout. But either way, at home, he's in there to just microwave and get his points. And I think 17 is a wonderful number when I have this placed at right about 20 for him in this game. All right, speaking of this game, I'm going to take 2 bets here for Utah. And this, I added this Utah -4.5 just very recently because it did go back down from the 6.5 it was at. And I don't care if Tyrese Maxey plays, to be honest with you. I can understand this being a little bit of a stinker in terms of like, this is too chalk. I don't know. With Philly, everyone's against it because Embiid's out, blah, blah, blah. I get that. But in this spot with Utah coming home, I think they're salivating to just put the hurting on a team with as many points as they can score, because they can't score that many points when they're on the road. So when they get in this opportunity, they got to be licking their chops, right? They are at home a top 5 offense. In January, they were the best offense, 135 points per game, basically, playing at 102 pace, basically, as you can see there in their home games during January. Philly is on a current roadie where they played 5 now in a row on the road. They are going to be playing a 6th game here on the road and to end the road trip. And man, teams on the end of road trips, I love to fade them because they're just like, get me in my bed. I don't care about this anymore. I want to see my wife or kids or whatever. I just want to be in my house on my own couch. That's where they're at right now. They've already given up 123.5 points per game in these 5 games that they've just played, including giving up a ton of points to Portland, as we saw the other night when they were without all their guys. They're allowing 29 free throw attempts a game. That's only going to get worse. You're either going to be watching you guys on Utah get to the rim with ease, or you're going to see them standing at the foul line shooting easy buckets, because at home in the month of January here, they took 30 free throw attempts a game. As you can see, Philly has been allowing 29 free throw attempts per game. That's all on this current road trip for them as well. So everything is just sort of like tailor-made for this being like a low spot for Utah, and then they come surging back because the home road splits are just so stark. I don't think there's a letdown situation for them. They didn't have the best road trip. It's better than they were, honestly. Before that road trip, they were even worse than they were on this last one for Utah as they come home now. They had some worse losses. They got some really ugly losses. But now it's a situation I think they're ready to smack somebody that they see as vulnerable right now. So, all right, last bet, and it is also from this game. There's only 4. What do you want me to do? I don't really want to touch Cleveland and the Memphis Grizzlies there. I'm not really into that one very much, to be honest. And the Lakers are going to be without AD and LeBron. That just came down, which just changes everything. So I will be looking at that. Follow along on social media as well at Land Your Bets, because that is where I continue to give stuff all over Twitter. And I put my best bets out on TikTok and Instagram. So if you want to make sure you're getting those and all the up-to-date stuff that I will be going through, like I'll probably throw a bet here and also in the comments of the video. Come back to the video, see the comments, and you will see that if that, like yesterday, for instance, with CJ McCollum. I'll finish that diatribe here in 1 second, but John Collins over 8.5 boards, plus 108 on Caesars, a half a unit, over in 4 of 5. And this is a situation where I'm like, why over in 4 of 5? Oh, because things have changed. There's a direct, like, sort of measuring stick, controlled variable, if you will, that I can use to bank all of this research on. So over in 4 of 5, because he's coming back as the small ball 5. He missed a bunch of games, I think like a couple weeks, and then he came back 7 games ago. The first 2 games ramped back up into his minutes, wasn't playing his normal minutes. And then in the last 5, back up to second in the team on minutes at about 28.5 a game. And he's got 16 rebound chances in those last 5. So why is that? You look at the lineups for Utah, they're playing all small ball 5. The most common lineup used is going to be he and the starting lineup, basically, which is now he and Markkanen interchangeable at center, if you will. Oftentimes, honestly, Markkanen's a bit more of the center, and he's still more of the power forward. But the rebound chances are there for him even more than Markkanen in these last 5, as they've been doing this dual sort of big forward sort of lineup. But he's not playing with Walker Kessler at all. And Walker Kessler's not getting minutes at all, by the way. Walker Kessler in the last 5 games, still back, last 2 games especially, just back down to like 16 minutes, 13 minutes. You're like, I don't know what to do with this dude. How do you bet on Walker Kessler overs when you don't know if he's going to play 30 or 13 minutes? But now with John Collins back in this the small ball lineup, probably being preferable, especially against a Philly team that's not going to bring anything down low. Like, we're about to see some Mo Bamba minutes in this game, I believe. I'm looking at Philly's lineup and who they have as players that can kind of come in and help out. And everybody is basically out who you would like. B-ball Paul Reed is going to get minutes, and he's only been getting about 20 in Joel's absence because he's not that good, to be honest with you. Unfortunately, I love his nickname, so I was really rooting for B-ball Paul, but he ain't it. And so John Collins would eat him up. Honestly, he'll probably be matched up with Markkanen when he does get in. There's just all kinds of problems for this Philly team when Joel goes out and they do have the injuries that they have. So they allow the 3rd most rebounds already to power forwards. That'll be the case here again between he and Markkanen. Both of them are good to get props. But if this is a blowout, I'm only putting half a unit on it because we get the plus money, and this might be a blowout, in which case I don't know if John Collins plays more than 23 minutes, honestly. Like, I can't guarantee that. So this is just a half unit bet, but it's such a good spot for him. If he and the change that I mentioned a minute ago in their lineups is really leading me to go, I think this is we're getting good value on it. It's probably priced at the right number, but the price of the odds, I still like that at plus 108. So, All right, that is all the time I have for you guys. Quick summary of how we did yesterday. CJ, I told you guys to stay away from. Hopefully you got to see that. I bet the other way as soon as I saw Zion out. I went over on the PRA. Interestingly, the RA, the rebounds and assists, were what I like the most for CJ, and those did go under. Sweaty enough, 8.5 were what they were at, and he got 8 of those. But he got 16 or so points, 7, whatever it was, 18 points. He got the 27 PRA. So I did reverse that bet and hedged it. And I'm just not going to take the L on it because, like, I made very clear as soon as Zion was out in the comments and on Twitter, like I said a minute ago, that I was off of this bet for CJM. For Franz Wagner here, he was a nice over. Fred Van Vliet, he was over as well. He made us sweat. He was the only dude who really scored for Houston. They did not show up at home in that game yesterday. So I don't know what to make of them right now, man. Like, they're a bit of an enigma. I see them backsliding for sure. Like, Houston's going to start backsliding and still not even be as good at home. But Fred, I said yesterday in the video, if Fred gets 16 points, that's perfect because then he doesn't go too far over and we can still sort of buy the dip for him, as I think his points prop will remain a bit low. So we'll keep an eye on that. Malcolm Brogdon didn't come through, but Portland won that game. And James Harden, that was another unfortunate late scratch. Paul George was nowhere on the injury report, and then all of a sudden Paul George is not playing. And obviously, if James Harden's playing without Paul George, he's much more likely to score. And that's all it was. It was he and Kawhi dueling ISO plays on every single set, and he just took his shots when he wanted them. He got 23 points. I guess the way to hedge against that would have take the points and assists, but like I said, with Paul George in, I loved the assist for Harden, and then that all got thrown to shit, and that ruined our day because we went 2-2 and lost 0.3 units, and we would have been up a solid amount with Harden hitting that bet for us. And if Zion had played. So a couple of things dicked us yesterday, but we are still 160 and 138, up 6.9 nice units on the season. And on the week there, you can see 8 and 6 plus 1.5 still. So that's what we care about. We're still trying to end this week with at least up 2 or 3, hopefully 4 units. We'll see what happens on this one. Plus 21.6 though on those Playa Props. So we continue to stay strong. And one more thing I wanted to make clear on the best bet summary here. Oh, I didn't have that up for you. Either way, my bad. The best bet summary for everything is 4.5 units to win 4.4. So I love that number that we're basically betting the same amount that we can win back if all of our bets hit. All right. Appreciate all the time with you guys here today and the new subscribers and everybody following along. Quick reminder that videos are coming out the night before these slates so that we can see what's going down with the projections that I have and all that kind of stuff. So continue to follow along, like and subscribe to that page if you would. And until I see you next, happy betting.